Hello, everyone. There's a saying among college students, C's get degrees. Well, that might be true, but they will not get you into graduate school. This is a quick introduction on what it takes to get into various graduate schools and a timeline so you can start to get an idea of when you need to start planning.
So are you prepared? A couple things that you need for graduate school is, of course, money. So if you need to butter up grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, uncle, some random guy, well, do it now so you get some money. Second is to consult others who have been to graduate school, or maybe are currently still there. If you see despair and stress on their face, ask them about it so you can better embrace it when you go there. Third, focus less on grades and more on learning. Grad schools don't care about grades. In all seriousness, let's talk about what it takes to get into a business grad school. One, you'll have to choose a school, such as Yale or the University of Washington. Second, you'll have to apply to one of these schools. You'll have to write an essay and do an interview. The essay and interview are alike in that what you will tell the graduate schools is about yourself. You'll tell them why you stand out with what special skills and properties you've learned through work experience or studying. You also have to take a GMAT, which will test you on basic knowledge of business and get a sense of how you do in a leadership role. The costs vary from school to school, but it's about $10,000 to $70,000 per year. The jobs you can get after grad school are information security analysts, management analysts, and financial analysts. Now let's talk about law school. Law school application is very similar to business, but there's a few things that you should be interested in, such as civil procedure, contracts, torts, constitutional law. And if you're not, at least fake it if you ever get into grad school and become a lawyer, so your clients feel inclined to pay you. Some prep work you'll need is the LSAT. This will test your reading, verbal, and reasoning skills, so when you do become a lawyer, let's say, you'll be able to read the contracts, convince judges why your client is right, and so on and so forth. So of course you can become a lawyer or even a financial advisor and administrators. The costs are ridiculous, $43,000 a year on average, not including books and living, but you do get a high income if you do become a lawyer.
A medical school is another type of specialized graduate school. The main difference when applying to medical school, however, is taking the MCATs. Studying will be the main focus of attending medical school, as well as getting some clinical experience, which is crucial when applying. And it's fairly obvious to say, check your written documents. If you have trouble spelling, how do you expect to write down those crazy drug names? Now, business, law, and medical school are not the only graduate schools there are. You can pursue a graduate degree in the sciences, humanities, and many, many more. But most graduate schools will require you to take the Graduate Record Examinations, or GREs, and most do have a minimum GPA threshold at 3.0. Now, a rough timeline for applying to graduate school. During the first term of your junior year is when you should start your search, and the second term is when you should start reaching out to the prospective schools, getting more information. Now that summer is when you should start gathering some work experience, visiting the schools, and start studying for the exams. Around November and December is when you will take your recommended exams for applying to graduate school. And then, after you've done with that, it's time to apply. After you've applied during your second term, it's time to relax. This is a very stressful time period. No need to make it any worse than it is. There are some objectives to accomplish before you apply, however. You should study for and take the GRE and score as best as you possibly can. Have a strong letter of recommendation, if not many, and write an emotional statement or statement of purpose or letter of intent. Improve your GPA as much as you can and try to assume a leadership role, whether it be on the campus, job, or volunteering, and try to do some academic research.
Here's just some general tips and tricks for applying. For the essay and the interview, be yourself. Emotion does trump reason, and the people that are interviewing you and reading your essays are human after all. Second, sometimes it's not about the GPA. Having a GPA of 3.3 or higher is very good. However, colleges do look at what have you done in the past relating to work experience and how much you have improved. And then on that note, work experience does count, for grad schools will be looking at that. Fourth, do not give them a reason to disqualify you, and be honest.
In conclusion, do your best to raise your GPA to at least a 3.3. Not saying that you can't get in without it being there, improvement is something they take into consideration, but the higher the GPA, the better the chances. Just like scoring well on the required tests. Why give them reasons to disqualify you? As well as get some experience in your desired field. And lastly, apply on time. There's nothing more stressful than having an application be disqualified because it is a day late. And thank you, and good luck on your future. Even if grad school is not in your path, hopefully you gained some information from our presentation and enjoyed it. And if anyone has any questions about applying to grad school, feel free to ask us after class.
Here are just some citations if you guys are still interested, and thank you again.